What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're giving you a state of the market. And what I'm actually doing in this video is going to provide you some things that I look at when I am watching the market in hopes to help you improve your investing, improve your trading going into the future. Now, sometimes I do these videos, sometimes I do not. Ultimately, again, this is not financial advice. You have to realize that you have to be very adjustable when it comes to the market. Um, these tools, thoughts, and ideas that I share with you guys, they aren't always 100%. Nothing is 100%. This is why I say you need to be agile in your approach to every trade, to every investment. Needs to have some sort of risk tolerance or have some sort of risk management to be able to know what you're getting into. Now, typically, going into any position, you have to know what the state of the market is. The market is in shambles. But something I've said many times before, the market isn't going, the economy and the market are two different things. Yes, the things that go on in the world, they will drive the market for the majority of the time. But you have to remember a lot of things, their shininess wears off in the market, and then the market gets bored of it, and the market will continue pushing up. So that's something you have to keep in mind. Like today's move, it didn't make any sense, but it happened. Last night, I thought it would happen just because it was down in the zone. This is, we have this major support here at the 4150 mark is what I've been talking about, and we bounced straight back up in here, waiting for Powell. So essentially, if we come in at the 25-point basis, if we come in just the stopping of bonds, I could see us actually possibly having some sort of short rally. Any rally, in my mind, is short until we get an understanding or there's some sort of ceasefire, something happens with the Russia-Ukraine war. Until that point, I think any rally will be short-lived. It's not saying that it can't continue to rally. I'm sure it could do anything. The market could sell if it wanted to, but your being a trader is being adjustable and trying to read what's going on and seeing candles. Even today, after this 4220 mark, it seemed pretty bullish for the most part. Again, the first pop was on a wick. Then it kept attempting. Now, my thing was it held. Now, that's just essentially a speed bump trying to get us up to the next level. But when we got some more news about Putin possibly, Putin and Biden speaking. So ultimately what this did, I think it was that particular news that essentially caused us to drop pretty dramatically very quickly. But then it was bought up. The same candle started really pushing news. We dropped and then bought straight up, and then we pushed straight into close. Now, what's interesting is I mean, you can't predict what's going to happen. News is going to drop. This is why we manage risk, right? It's going to. It could be completely against you. The momentum's in your favor, and then if you're trading Tesla and a news article comes out that Elon is stepping down from CEO, right? That's going to tank that stock. As you try to manage against that, you try to place stops, you try to manage position size. All those things matter. Every trade no one trade is different. Your process should always be the same, but no one trade is different. Your size will always be different. Your conviction will always be different. The state of the market will always be different. And there are a lot of things that come into play. So again, coming into tomorrow, I want to see, do we pop out? If you look back on the daily, we're essentially riding that line, which every time we've attempted to hit that line, we've rejected. And again, we've been holding, that 4150 mark. Again, we could wake up tomorrow and this be right back down here, or perhaps we break out tomorrow. If we do break out, that's not guaranteed we're going to skyrocket straight out of here. There's still so much uncertainty in the market. All the market's going to do is push and chop, or essentially dive and chop. It hasn't done much more than that. Being said, you might get, again, you got two huge green days here, and then one straight red day, right? This is essentially what the market's been. It's been nothing but chop, but it's been playing zones, and then it builds up and breaks. I think we're at that point to where we could start breaking back up. Again, there is no new bad news. All the news that's essentially come out, yeah, we had new news about China locking down. Yes, it's going to affect the supply chain. But I think the initial sticker shock, once that is done and over with, like, it's essentially that news is old news. Now, unless something else changes, again, the world could be a horrible place and the stock market will still push up, right? You have to, this is why reading the candlesticks and trying to understand what's going on. Yes, you'll make mistakes. Yes, I've made mistakes. Even today, I made a mistake and I was trying to go short, and all it was a long. But I adjusted midday and I took stuff long. So the key is, again, it goes back to risk management. It goes back to determining it. You're not always going to be right. I'm not always right. Like I've always said, you always need to come in with some sort of thesis in each and every day. It's important to know where the market is, what events are going on. Again, you're not going to know them all. You'll have specific events that come out that really, that are out of left field. But there are ones that are televised, like the Fed tomorrow. So again, it'll be a big day tomorrow. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you'll get essentially the essentially summary of what's been going on at the FOMC meeting. And then you'll essentially get Powell at 2:30, which he'll be taking questions and give answers at that point. So the market's going to be very volatile tomorrow after 2 o'clock. Again, the market may not even move. The market may actually move in the morning, but when you get closer to that 2 o'clock time, it's going to definitely slow down a lot. So again, leave this in a predicament. I don't like this market like anybody else. It's very hard to try to understand what's going on. Again, the world's in shambles. The world is a hot mess. But again, that is not the stock market. The stock market will continue to run. I wouldn't actually be surprised if we ran into the next quarterly earnings, only to have everybody get obliterated in earnings because of they're not making estimates because of supply chain issues, and then we tank again. That's just the way the market's worked, right? It's just it doesn't make sense to try to figure out why it's pushing, to try to figure out why it's selling sometimes. It's just not going to happen. So being said, we shall see what the market has in store for us tomorrow. But one thing I've been noticing, going into Bitcoin, I've been talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been holding extremely well, even when the market's been tanking. Yes, Bitcoin's popped and tanked, but it's been holding this 37 mark. And something, I've been talking about China and Russia have been essentially mining Bitcoin, and then you have the US that's essentially taking or going after hackers essentially and taking the Bitcoin that they've stolen, and essentially have that now, which is, I believe, a couple million. But nonetheless, I mean, Bitcoin and crypto is here to stay, and then the US is trying to push regulations. Again, I think we have found a new base in Bitcoin. And I think the current market situation, everything that's going on, I think people are more trusting in Bitcoin because it held extremely well today. When you had something like gold, which completely tanked today, and it's continuing to tank. So that in itself shows you where people have essentially their most faith in essentially the safe haven. So being said, and something to consider too, and something I've had a couple conversations about is, in third world countries, to have gold, it's easier for someone to steal that gold as it is to steal crypto from you. And now you can have a stick, you can have a ledger, a hard wallet with crypto on it. And somebody can take it from you, but they can't unless they know your seed phrase. They can't get that crypto. Or if you had a bar of gold, they can just take it. And so crypto is becoming more and more of a reliable source in third world countries. In the U.S., we don't see this, right? People aren't trying to steal your gold, at least not in the current environment we live in, right? It's not something typical that happens where if you live in third world country, it's more something like that would happen more frequently. So being said, people are shifting to crypto, and you're not. This is why gold. I remember a year and a half ago, people were talking about how gold was going to skyrocket because of everything that was going on, and it did to an extent, but now it's just dying off. I mean, it doesn't have any strength. Current situation, although it has gone parabolic, and even wheat. You want to take a look at wheat. So even wheat could be possibly making a lower high. So all your commodities are still holding levels right now. Again, and these commodities will continue to hold levels until something happens with the whole situation with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, but ultimately, just in general, what's going on, it doesn't have to make sense. None of it has to make sense. It's just reacting. Yes, you're going to possibly take steps. Now, if you're investing 5 to 10 years down the road, it really doesn't matter. I've been kind of talking about dollar cost averaging because I believe that we are closer to a bottom. I'm not going to call a bottom. I will never call a bottom, but I have a good sense that we are at a point to where the market could potentially reverse. Now, there's a lot that has to come into play for us to reverse. Again, the economy is not the stock market. That will trickle down into earnings, and then you have rallies, and then you'll have us sinking back down. I think we're going to have push pops, and then we're going to sell off, right? I think it's going to be a very choppy market. It's not going to be parabolic like we've seen for the past year. I think it could have continued that way, but it didn't because of what's happened with Russia and Ukraine. So there's, again, a lot going on. And tomorrow, one of the biggest ones that I always talk about is Tesla. There's been a lot of positive news, even with chips, extremely well today. But the one thing you have to keep in mind here is that this can sink just as quick as chips. If you get any kind of more sanctions with China, the market tries to price in stuff before it happens. So earnings, we may not run all the way up. We may not run big into earnings. We may run a little bit and then realize, oh man, look at the sanctions and China locking down has really put a huge supply constraint. Even Elon has been talking about this. Elon's been tweeting about this as far as inflation goes in the next coming years, about inflation being really bad. But that's not going to stop the market. This market continues to push up. It doesn't have to make sense. Again, you have to separate the two and see what the market is doing. The market needs to keep going up. I mean, if the market reacted just like the economy, we'd probably be at close to zero at this point. So you have to realize, define the distinction between the two. So, and again, I think any news article will always bring sticker shock and create movements. But then after that, once it wears off, again, it's all depends on the event, whichever event occurs. I think, some events obviously have more weight than others, so they will have a more impact in the market. But again, once it becomes essentially almost the norm, the market will start pushing again. And that's just the way it happens. And then when you have earnings, you'll have a run up, and then they're going to miss expectations, and so they'll tank. Are they going to tank a lot? Probably not, because we've already had a huge correction. It depends on how bad those earnings are and how much they miss. But we won't know that until this Q1 earnings, when the war started to kick off, to really determine what's going on there. So As of tomorrow, again, just looking at the regular ones, Tesla, I like 825. That was what I'm kind of looking at tomorrow. I'm sure it'll get rejected there or hold there until Powell. And this is one thing to keep in mind too. It may not stay there. We may actually gap up tomorrow. You never know. Maybe someone can get information about what's going on with Tesla or what's going on with Powell's decision, and we could gap and run tomorrow. You got Amazon that's looking very strong tomorrow. I could see this potentially going back up to close to that 3K mark and then settling there until we get Powell. Apple reversed back over the 200, even after that news about them losing that plant, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, this should be like 100, maybe like $110, right? Like, who knows how much that losing that plant's going to impact their earnings. You won't know until earnings comes around. Until then, there's already been a big correction, right? We've already had, so the sticker shock factor happens for these short-term pullbacks, but we've already had a huge correction on Apple, right? We've already got a 17% correction on Apple. How much more does it need to pull back? At this point, any news, unless again it's sanctioned news or if it's some other type of news like that, you're not going to get a bigger move out of here. It has to be something new that's going to drive the market. Or what's going to happen is we're going to wait till earnings and get a bit of a rally, right? We're not just going to go straight down. We're not just going to go straight up. But I do expect a lot more chop. And that's all we've been doing this year, but I think we'll still rally heavily into the end of the year. Again, it really just depends on how much longer this Russia-Ukraine war goes on. So nonetheless, UPST, I like this one. Every time I say it goes below a 200 on the daily is the only time to buy. Well, it's been well below that, but now it's below the 200 on the weekly. So this could actually get a huge run here. It's actually, a lot of these are starting to wedge again. So I'm expecting some sort of wedge break here. Possibly everything's lining up for tomorrow. And even if we sell, I don't expect us to sell below some of these levels that we've already tested. We have to have a bigger catalyst, I think, to break and continue to sell. Unless the Fed come in so hawkish that it was unforeseen, I don't see that us breaking, continuing to sell that heavy. Again, I could be wrong. It's just the thesis I have. And like I've always said, you need to establish your own thesis going into each and every day, and it should be adjusted depending on whatever news you get each and every day. I think it's extremely important. So again, chips are strong too as well. Something I talked about, they've been holding that base pretty well. Looking for that to kind of push up tomorrow too. So that might be a good one. Google, as always, just like the market, it's right back at that line. If we test, we could possibly break out and rally a little bit. Else, we'll be back down here at the 25, essentially around that 2,500 mark. So that's I'm pretty much going to wrap it there. I'm not going to put too much stuff out there. I'm not giving stock. I keep coming up with the same stocks because of the current market and the situation that's going on. I try to make this video a little bit more informative on the way I kind of look at things. It's important. I use supply and demand zones. I use the only other indicator I use is EMAs, and I go off of dailies mostly. I sometimes use weeklies on stocks that I trade a lot. Obviously, your Teslas, your Amazon, Googles, UPST are ones I try to trade a lot, and ships. But aside from that, like, I try to keep it as simple as possible. Know that things change and try to get a feel for how the market's going. Is it a sticker shock? It's just like I talk about, first bounce is important. The first bounce is you're going to get your biggest bounce if it's a retest of an old support, or if you're coming in demand zone, right? Or if it's some new event, right? How new is that event? If it's now, it's going to impact now. Again, depending on the gravity of that event, it'll make more bigger impact. If it's world impacting, or if it's a single company, right? It all just depends. You have to take all that stuff in consideration, come up with a thesis on what's going to happen. Watch the market, watch the banks, watch gold, watch crypto, and make a thesis, right? Watch your value, watch your tech, see what's leading and what's not. And I do that every morning. I go through all the sectors and try to determine where the strength is, and look for rotations, because a lot of times you can see the rotation coming. If you see consolidation in tech, but value has been running hard, and then value is starting to stall, you can almost be determined that rotation is going to come back into tech soon. And the longer you watch the charts, the longer you see momentum in the sticks, you can start reading this a lot better. It's not saying you'll be 100%. I'm nowhere near 100%. I never claim that. And this channel is primarily just for helping me in my trading journey, and helping me help give me a log of feedback. And so that's why I've created this channel, is to provide myself a feedback, because I do watch my videos and try to determine what I'm missing, because I think that is most important. So if you have made it this far and heard me kind of ramble, this may not be what you're interested in, but I think it's important to kind of understand where I'm coming from, understand my thought process when I'm going through, when I'm trading. Again, everybody has their own thoughts and ideas, and I think you should have your own. You should develop your own. It's very important, and you should learn from multiple different people. I don't think just one person is going to help you achieve what you need to. I think multiple people will, if you can find at least 2 or 3 good people that will help you get you to where you want to go. So being said, again, drop the like button, and I'll see you guys next time.